We'll start recording. Cool. So we are Rito Ora, Community Breastfeeding Nutrition Advice, and what we do is we support with infant feeding in the community. So we just do home visits, text, phone, Zoom kind of consults, and we support infant feeding from pregnancy through to when a baby is about age 2. And we support with infant feeding no matter what it looks like. What we do now in pregnancy is we'll just run through a bit about preparing how to breastfeed and answer any questions that you might have. And then once the baby arrives, the way our service works is we will come and visit you at home as much or as little as you want to support you with infant feeding. So if you'd like, 2 or 3 home visits in a week, that's great, we can do that. Or if you just prefer text or Zoom or phone calls, it's entirely up to you. Yeah, use this as much or as little as you like. Now on the screen here, we've got Ma, there's myself, Alicia. We have a free lactation consultant. Her name is Jenny, and she helps with complex or medical kind of situations that may arise. So you're in good hands there. There's Eliana, Flo, and Shivani as well. Okay. So a lot of this talk is based on the Mama Aroha talk cards. This is a free app that you can download, and for those of you that are here today, I'll send you a text after this with information on how to download Mama Aroha and Breastfeed NZ. They're both really great ways to get reliable and accurate information about breastfeeding. They're based in New Zealand, so it kind of saves you Googling at 2 o'clock in the morning if you know that you can pop onto these apps and get really good, accurate information to help you with infant feeding there. So yeah, we'll text those to both of you here today. All right, so this first slide is about you guys. It's about the mum. So breastfeeding can be a really positive experience for mums, and it comes with health benefits to you guys as well. So once you kind of get the hang of how to position and latch a baby, once you get into the swing of it, so the learning, I need to acknowledge that the learning can be a time that, like all things when we learn, it can be a little bit difficult, but once you're in the swing of it, it can be a really positive, rewarding experience. You can see on the screen a few of the benefits for mums. In terms of your health, it really helps to enrich a mum's health. And the way it works is that the more you breastfeed and the longer you breastfeed for, the greater the health benefits are. You can see the ones on there about cancers and things like that. Also, breastfeeding reduces your risk of things like cardiovascular disease, like of the heart. So it's a really good thing to do for your own health as well. But what I love asking mums is like, why do they want to try to give breastfeeding a go? Because the answers are so interesting. A lot of mums will say things like, it's free. Now, the cost of living is absolutely outrageous at the moment. And so to be able to provide free food for babies is a really good thing, where possible. Also that food security. Once you work on optimizing your breast milk supply, which is what we'll talk about today, you don't worry about running out and things like that. A lot of mums will talk about the bond between mums and babies as well, kind of creating that bond that only you two have with each other when you breastfeed. And it's also really convenient. Obviously, you take your breast with you everywhere you go. So it's a really convenient way to feed your baby. You don't need to worry about packaging and storage and moving things around and things like that. So heaps of reasons why mums like to breastfeed or find it important for them. Some mums will say they want to breastfeed because their families have always done it. And other mums will say that they want to breastfeed because no one in their family has done it. So it's really individual. So just take a moment to think to yourself about, why breastfeeding is important to you. So this next slide is about your babies. A lot of people know that breastfeeding does have health and other benefits for Baba. you can see what's up there on the screen, and there's more to it than just what's up here. Breastfeeding, I think at the moment, right now, coming into winter, and you're both about to have your babies, it's really timely to just talk about the immune system benefits of breastfeeding. The way that this works is something I find interesting. If there's a cough, cold, virus, bug, or whatever going around in your environment, then what happens is that the breastfeeding person's body picks up on it, and your body will make antibodies to fight this cough, cold, bug, virus, whatever it may be. And those antibodies get put into your breast milk. They go straight to your baby. And so breastfeeding helps to keep baby's immune system really strong. It really helps to protect baby against cough, cold, viruses, etc., because baby's directly getting antibodies through you. So some mums think of it like a protective shield for their babies, knowing that that breast milk is going to help them to not get really severely sick. Breastfed babies, of course, can still get sick, but they don't tend to get as sick. And then there's a lot of like digestive and tummy, things that breastfeeding can help to help with as well, like digestive issues and things like that. So lots of good reasons up here on the board as well. And this is all available on the Mama Aroha app. Okay, so this is about the breast milk itself. Now, we have a few different types of breast milk, different stages, they call it. Now, in pregnancy, we start making colostrum. At about the halfway mark, just after the halfway mark of pregnancy, our bodies will start making colostrum. Some people will see their colostrum in pregnancy, and some people don't see it at all. Both of those things are totally normal. It has no indication about, like, if you see it, doesn't mean you'll have heaps of milk. If you don't see it at all, it doesn't mean you won't have any. It has no indication on your milk supply. So if you have or haven't seen it, both of those things are normal, not to worry either way. Some people like to talk about collecting their colostrum from about 37 weeks pregnant. If this is something you want to talk about, then just get in touch with our service. So for those of you who are here today, you can get in touch with either myself or with Shivani, who you've got as well, and we can help you to decide whether or not that's right for you and help you go about collecting colostrum if that's something that you're interested in. Now, you have colostrum for the first 2 to 5 days. It stays up there 3 to 4 days, which is more common once your baby's been born. And then what happens is you go from colostrum to transitional milk. Now, when you get transitional milk, most commonly, between days 3 and 4, it just means that you go to this kind of milk you see in the middle, where it's still a similar colour to colostrum. It's kind of like that yellowy colour, but you make a little bit more of it, and it looks a little bit thinner in appearance. Colostrum's quite thick. You can see up here, it's like condensed milk or honey, and kind of concentrated. Now, when your milk comes in, if anyone asks you, hey, has your milk come in yet? They're asking you, have you gone from colostrum to transitional milk? There'll be a few ways that you can tell. For most people, you can really feel it in your breasts. A lot of us, our breasts will feel fuller, harder, and heavier once our milk starts to come in. And then we make more of it as well. By the end of the second week, you can see down here, your milk settles at what we call mature milk, and it just, it looks a little bit whiter, and it's a thinner kind of a look to it. So it's not really thick like colostrum is. Now, the amounts that you see on the screen are exactly correct. And they're perfect for babies for a few reasons, which are on the next screen. So a couple of drops of colostrum. We're not expecting to see lots more colostrum because this is on the Mama Aroha app, and I think it's a really handy chart to pay attention to. What it is it goes through like day 1, day 2, day 3, into the first week. Now, on day 1, you've got your colostrum, which we've just seen a picture of what that looks like. And colostrum can be any color as well, by the way. It can be clear, like see-through, it can be a little bit green, a little bit pink, it doesn't really matter, but it's just that kind of thicker. Now on day 1, baby's tummy is the size of a small marble. So think something of really little, like, excuse me, think of an almond or a cherry, just something that's really, really quite little.
That's really tiny.
Yeah, tiny, tiny, tiny. Sorry, excuse me. And then what I have, so the colostrum that you make, those couple of drops that you saw on the last screen, it's exactly the right amount to fill up baby's small tummy. There is no point in making like a whole cup full of colostrum on day 1. It would have nowhere to go. And also a few drops of colostrum is a perfect amount for baby to practice sucking, swallowing, and breathing. Baby has to learn how to feed. You know, baby's never done it before. And so learning with a few drops is exactly perfect for baby's learning, for baby's tummy size. Now go to day 2, and baby's tummy has almost doubled in size. By day 3, you can see here baby's tummy has more than tripled. It's almost quadrupled in size from day 1. And by the end of that first week, baby's tummy has done a whole lot of growing. It's gone from the size of a small marble all the way up to a golf ball. And so there's all of this growing that's happening inside our babies that we can't see from the outside, but is happening. And what's really great about our breast milk supply is how it works is that the more your baby feeds, the more milk you make. So your milk supply will keep increasing by how much you feed your baby. So if you have fed your baby, you know, what's normal is kind of like every 2 to 3 hours, maybe more. So a baby might want to feed, if a baby feeds every 2 hours, it looks like 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 2, 4, 6, 8, around the clock. That would be entirely normal. It's a good thing that the more your baby feeds, the more milk you make. And it also helps because baby's tummy is growing so much. Honestly, if all you felt like you did in that first week was breastfeed a baby, it's because all you probably will do in that first week is breastfeed a baby. It is a whole lot of feeding for this tummy growth, for the other kind of growth. There's lots of different growths that are happening inside baby, nervous system taking off and things like that. And also just to have a really good robust milk supply. Now, how to tell if your baby's getting enough is what this card also shows really well. So on day 1, you've got your colostrum, you know, a few drops, baby's tummy's full. You know that baby's got enough because what goes in baby must come out of baby. We're looking at the nappies. So there's a bit of a pattern as to how many you're looking for in the first 3 days. With the wet nappies, day 1, 1 wet, day 2, 2 wet, day 3, 3 wet. What's more important than the wet nappies in the first 3 days is actually the poo nappies. Baby's first poo, they call it meconium. It's just another name for the first poo, and it looks kind of like Marmite or Rota. It's like a sticky black kind of a substance that baby poos. Colostrum actually has a little bit of colostrum has a little bit of laxative in it that just helps to push all that meconium out of baby. Now, once your milk comes in, you know, we talked about like going to transitional milk, your milk coming in. What happens here is your nappy numbers, they skyrocket. You change many, many more nappies once your milk comes in because more milk is coming into baby, so you're changing more nappies. Now, don't get caught up on the numbers. What we're kind of looking for an indication, how do you know if your baby's getting enough milk? As if every time you go to latch on baby, or baby needs a feed, there's a wet or a dirty nappy there, you know you're on the right track. So whenever you feed your baby, check the nappy. If it's wet or if it's dirty, baby's generally getting a good amount of milk. If you go to feed baby and the nappies are dry, so it's been like 3 or so hours, the nappies are dry, that's when we know that we need to work to get a bit more milk into baby. And for the first few weeks as babies are newborn, it is a good idea to look out for poo nappies and to make sure that baby is pooing regularly. That will show you that baby's probably gaining some pretty good weight. So in terms of the numbers, just to give you an idea, like don't sit there and count them all. We're looking for between 9 and 13 nappies in 24 hours. So if you want to prepare for things for when baby arrives, we can prepare the nappies. We know that there's going to be a lot of them. The more the better, because the more nappies are changed, the more milk baby's getting in. This also shows you what's normal for how often baby might wake to feed. So your baby will likely wake to feed kind of between 8 and 13 times in 24 hours. And if your baby's doing that, we know that that's a baby who is strong, has lots of energy, can wake on their own to feed. It's a really, really sleepy baby in that first week that we know we might need to wake up. But if your babies wake up on their own, they're strong, they're right on track. Does anyone have any questions about this slide before we move on?
So is it normal that we will, so what if the milk doesn't come? I mean, I'm the first time mom, I don't know how it works. So because I know a few of my friends, they couldn't breastfeed because the milk didn't come at all. So they had to formula feed the baby.
Yeah, so what will happen is, first of all, I think it's about knowing that on day one, we'll make a couple of drops of colostrum. So on that day that your baby's been born, you finally get to see your baby, we're expecting a couple of drops. It's understanding that this is normal. And then the more you feed your baby, the more milk you'll make. If there's any issues with milk supply, then there's always plans that we can put in place that can help you to try to make more milk. Sometimes for some people it can be appropriate to go on a medication as well. For some people it will involve latching baby to the breast as well as pumping. So it can look different according to different people and according to as well as, you know, what you want to do, what you're comfortable with. But there's always plans that we can put in place to help support more milk to come in, or we can help with things like mixed feeding if that's the right option for you, and if we can help with, you know, how to give formula safely and things like that as well. So there's always lots of different options, but I think a really good plan is for the first few days giving breastfeeding a really good go, because we know the more we latch our baby to the breast, the more milk we make. So just trying to work with latching as much as possible and getting a good deep latch, which we'll go into soon, is one of the best things you can do to make lots of milk. It's a very small percentage of people that aren't able to make breast milk. So for a large majority of the population, by latching baby onto the breast and getting a good latch, by feeding regularly, that's what we need to do to make a good milk supply. But this is all stuff we absolutely help you with once the baby arrives as well.
Sorry, can I just ask another question? My sister suggested that I should start eating like those lactation cookies from now. Is that something that's worth doing just to help with the supply?
So with your supply, the main work of how to make breast milk is done by latching baby to the breast. If we're not doing the main work, which is latching baby to the breast, then cookies won't help at all with supply.
Okay.
So it's more important to learn how to position and latch your baby and to understand, which is what you guys are doing here by coming here today, right? Is to understand how does your milk supply work, and just learning that, look, the more we feed our baby, the more milk we'll make. So the way it works is that every time we latch our baby to the breast, you can think of it like the stimulation on the breast and the nipple will send a message through to your brain. It's like hormones, send a message through to your brain to say we need to make more milk. And the more messages your brain gets to fill up your breast to make more milk, the more milk you make. But if our breast and nipples are not getting any signals by baby latching or by pumping to make milk, then our brain's not going to get any signals, any messages to tell it to make milk. So we need to make sure that we're sending the right signals to our brain. It's like putting in an order. Every time we latch our baby to the breast, it puts an order in. We need to make more milk. But you know, lots of people have breastfed for many years and to this day in different countries without ever eating a cookie. So don't feel like you have to rush out and buy them, especially if it's not in your budget. In terms of nutrition, it's like just nice normal foods, just your normal family diets, making sure that you're not skipping meals and things like that. So this is something about skin to skin. I'm sure your midwives and things would have had some chats to you about skin to skin. And I'll just talk about it in terms of breastfeeding. It has lots of other benefits as well, not just to do with breastfeeding. So what skin to skin is it's when baby's on your chest, you're totally bare chested, baby's either nude or just in a nappy. Now, the first time you do skin to skin will be as soon as it is safe to do so after baby's been born. So what they do is you'll be bare chested, they'll put baby straight onto your chest. And this is good for so many reasons. You can read on the screen about, you know, brain development and love hormones and bonding and things like that. But what it does for breastfeeding is when your baby's right next to the milk, baby can see the milk. If you've had nipple changes in pregnancy, most people do, where our nipples go darker and they go bigger. And that's because baby can't see very far when they're first born. They can see about 15 centimeters, which is the range of sight is like from your elbow to your face. That's probably as far as they can see. And so the nipples change, they become bigger and darker. So that baby has, it's like a target. Baby can see where their milk is. And on the areola, so the dark part of the nipple, there's little bumps on it called Montgomery glands. They do a few things. One of the things that they do is they have a smell that your baby really likes. And so when baby's on your chest, baby's right next to the milk, they can see it, there's a smell there that they're attracted to. And that encourages baby to open up their mouth really wide. When we talk about positioning and latching, we'll talk about why that big, wide open mouth is perfect for breastfeeding. It opens baby's mouth up really, really wide and encourages them to latch onto the breast. So it's like the first step to breastfeeding. Before you even try to position your baby, latch your baby on, skin to skin is really that first step. If it is safe to do so, then in that first hour when baby's been born, they usually pop baby on your chest uninterrupted for that first hour. So it's more important to do that than it is to go and, you know, do other things when, such as weigh the baby if it's not necessary to do that yet. What skin to skin does for the mum as well, for the person having the baby, is when your baby's been placed on your chest, and you think about that first time and you finally get to see your baby and you get to see, like, does baby have any hair? Whose nose does baby have? All of these things. And it's a really amazing moment. As a side note, it is entirely normal to fall in love right away or to have to take a little while to get to know this new person before you fall in love. Both of those things are normal. But what it does for you in terms of your hormones and how you make breast milk is it sends those messages through to your brain. Hey, my baby's here. Let down the breast milk. So it's a really great first step to breastfeeding. Now, skin to skin, obviously you do it as soon as you can after baby's been born, but it's also really great to do when you're back at home with baby. You can do it for 6 months, for a year. You can do it as much as you want to once you're back at home with baby. It's a great tool that you can use to calm baby down if baby's, crying and things like that. Putting baby on your chest is wonderful. It is also a really great thing to do to help to keep baby's mouth wide and open for breastfeeding and help to keep baby coming back to the breast. as well as other reasons. So lots and lots of skin to skin is a really great way to help with parenting in that first kind of 6 months to a year or beyond. Okay, so this is the Ministry of Health recommendations around breastfeeding. So for the first 6 months of your baby's life, baby doesn't need food or water or anything like that. Your breast milk will meet all of baby's needs. It's around 6 months that we start giving baby some solid food that has things like iron and stuff in it. But for the first 6 months, we don't need to worry about anything but just, giving baby some breast milk. The current recommendation is also to keep breastfeeding baby or giving some breast milk until baby's around age 2. So this slide is all about cluster feeding. Now, cluster feeding is just the name that we use to describe periods of time. It's usually about 24 hours where babies might want to feed more often and for longer than is usual. So we talked about what's usual being like every 2 to 4 hours, or 8 to 13 feeds in 24 hours. When a baby is cluster feeding, a lot of the time it's when baby's having a growth spurt. And so it makes sense, hey, when baby's growing really fast, then baby might want to feed more often. Sometimes we also see baby will have a little bit of fussy behaviour. They don't want to be put down, they want to be on mum, they just want to be held by you. And we can even see on the screen, right? So in a cluster feed, a baby might want to feed up to 18 times in 24 hours. So the thing to do, there's a whole lot of feeding. It's just to respond to your baby's needs, keep latching your baby. You can swap sides as well when babies are cluster feeding, just latch, latch, latch. What this is really great for is that once your baby has done all of that feeding with cluster feeding, it has sent all of those messages through to your brain, all of the orders to your brain to, hey, make more breast milk. It places more demand on our breast milk supply, will increase our supply, it gives us more breast milk. So cluster feeding, we know that there are a few times when baby will cluster feed. And this is things that will help you out with once your baby arrives, when you're part of Rito Ora service. So baby will cluster feed week 3, week 6, week 12. That's when we know that babies are going to have growth spurts. So it's about 1 day of just lots and lots and lots of feeding, a great time to park up on the couch, to find something that you like to watch on TV or on Netflix or what have you. Maybe if you like reading or magazines or something like that, and make your life easier for you. Week 3, week 6, week 12 by, being okay with takeaways for dinner that night, or having a meal prepped ahead of time, having drink bottles that you can take with you, like snacks you can take with you to the couch, and just know that you'll be feeding. Now, the first cluster feed actually happens in the first week of baby's life, so night 2, day 3. On night 2, day 3, what happens is babies, they wake up a little bit. On day 1, they're tired, they've just been born. Night 2, day 3, they wake up a bit, and they realise that their whole life has changed, that they're no longer inside of the pregnant person, of mum, and they're no longer being carried. They might feel cold for the first time, they might feel hunger for the first time. Their whole world has totally changed. And so by breastfeeding really, really often, it is a nice way for baby to check in with you. You are all your baby knows. You are your baby's whole world. And so when they are on your chest and feeding, it makes them feel safe, comforted, reassured that they're safe in this world, that you're still there. And so it's a really nice thing to just feed, respond to your baby. The other thing that it's really great for is we talked about going from colostrum to transitional milk when your milk comes in. Cluster feeding helps with that. So feeding a lot will help you to have a strong, robust milk supply. Any questions about cluster feeding?
All
Oh, we've had a few mums, we've had a few mums, I've asked them in their words, what does it felt like? And they've said, it can feel really intense. It can feel like a lot. It's very constant, it's non-stop. So just, expecting that if your baby's cluster feeding, night 2, day 3, week 3, 6, 12, then baby is right on track, normal, doing exactly what we expect them to do. So this is about how to tell if your baby's hungry. Our babies don't have vocabulary. They can't tell us that they're hungry every 2 hours. Not like a toddler who's always saying, Mum, I want a snack, snack, snack every 2 hours. A baby will show us with their body. They'll give us body language, communication with us. So what they'll do is when a baby's first hungry, they'll put their hands up to their mouth, they'll smack their lips together, they'll poke their tongue in and out, and they'll look around. So their hands are up and they're looking around, smacking their lips. That is a good time to latch baby onto the breast, because a calm baby, when they're first hungry, they're calm and it's easier to latch on. And they will typically be a little bit patient with us as well. Sometimes getting that good latch, we need to unlatch and relatch a few times to get a really good deep latch. So early feeding cues, where possible, the best time to latch a baby on. A mid-cue in the middle here is when baby's doing all the early cues, but they're also letting out a couple of cries. That's the time we want to get baby on sooner rather than later. Now, a late cue is when baby's gone through the early and the mid-cues, and now they've worked themselves up and they will be crying and harder to settle and things like that. If this happens to you, this happens to all of us. Every single one of us. Obviously we can't be standing next to our babies 24/7. We need to have a shower and things like that. So we might miss the early cues sometimes. If you do get to those late cues, the best thing to do is to calm baby down, use movement, skin to skin, your voice, having baby close to you, and then latch baby on. The other thing about this late cue is if you can see where baby's tongue is in this mouth, if our baby's tongues are lifted up because they're crying, that can make it harder to latch baby on because we can't get our breast past that tongue. The tongue's in the way. So calming baby down before we latch baby on is a great thing to do for good positioning and latching and feeding. But yeah, just where possible, early cues. There is a bit of a myth that you need to wait till baby's crying to feed them. It's absolutely not true. So we don't recommend that at all. But just the earlier the better. And if you're not sure, you think that you're seeing an early cue, but hard to tell, just offer baby the breast anyway, and they will take it or not. It can take some time to learn your baby's cues as well, to get to know what your baby's telling you, but because you'll spend so much time with your baby, you just give it time and you learn your baby's body language really fast. Okay, so this is where I'm going to stop sharing because I'd like to show you, or I'll just spotlight myself. Okay, so I just wanted to show you here positioning and latching with the baby. This is baby Lilith. So what we're doing here is just how to position and latch a baby. When we position a baby, what we're talking about is how we're holding baby. And the latch, what we're talking about there is how is baby's mouth on the breast. So position and latch. We need good positioning and latching for comfortable feeding. If we've got a good position and a good latch, feeding will not be painful and baby will actually be able to get more milk out of the breast. Because when our babies, if we can pretend this is baby's mouth, when our baby's mouth is on the breast, baby's able to massage that breast and get a full feed out. If we don't have a very good latch and baby's mouth is just kind of on the edge of that nipple, they're not able to get as much milk out. So for baby to get lots of milk, for you to have a good supply, and the more milk baby gets out, the more milk you make, and for breastfeeding to be comfortable, position and latch. It can take time to learn how to position latch a baby, so just be really gentle with yourself while you're learning. Some people say it can take about 6 weeks to really get into the swing of it. Now, when we're positioning our babies, what we want to do is we want to make sure firstly that baby's tummy is on mummy. So tummy to mummy. If you've got tummy to mummy sorted, you're halfway there. Honestly, it is such an important part of latching a baby on. And it doesn't matter if you feed, this way or this way, baby's tummy is always on mummy. It's probably the most common thing that I go in and help with when I go in to people's homes and I help them with feeding, is sometimes the babies are sitting on like those breastfeeding pillows, but their tummies are facing the ceiling, and that baby, because their head's facing up, they can't latch onto the breast. When they try to latch on, it's quite difficult for a baby to imagine like twisting your head and trying to do it here, twisting your head and trying to drink. Too much of a strain, like you can't do it. You can't do that for 20 minutes straight. It would be too hard. So sometimes all I do to help is just literally turn that baby in. And that's all we need to do, and the feeding has sorted itself out. So tummy to mummy, very, very important. Once you've got your baby tummy to mummy, I think the second thing that's good to know is that we want to put our hand in the shape of a V or a Y or whatever that looks like to you, and put that behind baby's neck and shoulders. So take baby's head off. So we're not holding baby by the head, no, because baby will be moving their head when they feed. And if we're holding their head in place, then they cannot. So let baby move their head around, hold behind the neck and shoulders. And it's kind of like that groove in your hand fits behind baby's neck. So that's where it goes. You're using your arm to keep baby securely in place. It's comforting, it makes baby feel safe and secure when they're being held firmly in place. So we don't want to be really kind of like loose with our movement and baby's flopping around. That won't make for a good feed. So hand behind the neck and shoulders, forearm in. If you're ever worried about baby's nose, sometimes people worry, can baby breathe? Just keep your baby firmly close to you and using your elbow to push in the bottom. It's like an angle thing and the nose comes out. Keeping baby really close and that bottom tucked into you like this.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. I was worried
Yes.
the baby was going to be
And
able to breathe easily.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a skill to learn. And what we'll do is we'll send you both 2 videos on how to position and latch babies as well after this is finished, so you can watch them. It has real breasts and real babies. Babies are really wriggly, they don't just stay still like my doll either, so it's good to watch it with a real baby. Now it doesn't matter if you feed this way or this way. Okay, my baby's still tummy to mummy and I'm still holding baby with my arm. Okay, so we're not going this way, it's just there. Okay, and then look down, baby's all in a nice straight line, ears, shoulders, hips, nice and straight. And now we can look at latching baby. So when we go to latch a baby, what we want to do is baby's chin, baby's bottom lip and chin is that first point of contact with the breast. And I'll try to show you with my hand here. Actually, if you can pretend, imagination time, that this is baby's mouth. So that chin goes in first. So we don't let baby like nose dive in, that chin goes in first. And we want baby's bottom lip to end up kind of like here around, it's usually around the edge of the areola, and that chin and that lip go here, and then it stays there. So we're not like moving baby all around trying to get a latch on, that bottom lip goes there. Now, so it kind of looks like that, and it almost looks like the nipples pointing up at the nose. So baby's kind of like underneath the nipple. And then what happens is we put baby there, baby stays there, and all babies will do this. It's an instinct that they're born with to open up their mouth really, really wide. So when our babies open up their mouth, what our job to do is with the hand behind the neck and shoulders, we push baby to breast. So obviously it'll be here, but that bottom lip goes in, baby opens up, and we push baby on. Show my hand actually. When we push baby on, you can see how baby's mouth can take in a deep mouthful of the breast. Okay, and what we want is, so the more breast tissue ends up in baby's mouth, the more comfortable the feed is. It can help to avoid things like nipple pain, and it just helps you to have a good milk supply. Your nipple ends up, if you think about in the mouth, feel with your tongue at the front of your mouth, you have a hard palate, and at the back you have a soft palate. Your nipple ends up all the way back in the soft palate of baby's mouth. So it truly is like a whole mouthful of breast tissue there. And I'll show you with some pictures now. We'll go back to the slideshow, and then, like I say, we'll send you some videos as well. This is a good latch and a not so good latch. This is on the Mama Aroha app as well. So a good latch, you can't see much of the mum's areola with these good latches here. So the nipples are back in baby's soft palate of the mouth. Where it says here, nipple shape is still rounded after the feed. This shows you, this is where you've got your baby tummy to mummy, and then you line your baby up so that chin goes in first. This is where we put baby's chin and bottom lip. The nipple's kind of pointing up at the nose. So when baby opens up their mouth, they're kind of looking up at the nipple. When baby opens up their mouth, you push baby forward, and they'll take the areola in as well in the mouth. Now, one thing that is very, very helpful with position and latch and with breastfeeding is keeping your babies very close to you. So you see these babies on these cards here. They are on the mother. They are so close to the mum that if we were there, we couldn't get a hand between the mum and the baby. And that makes for a good latch. On a not so good latch, there's a lot of space between these mums and babies. And the further away baby is from the nipple, the more baby has to kind of like reach all the way over to just get the end of the nipple in the mouth. So a not so good latch, baby's far away. A good, comfortable latch, lots of milk, will be keeping baby close to you. Where it says nose is blocked, lips are turned inwards, that's why we don't let our babies like nose go in first. They can't get a very good latch or breathe. Baby is twisted away, not close enough. This is what it looks like when babies are on breastfeeding pillows with their tummy facing the ceiling. So this baby's having to turn their whole head just to feed. If you've got a coffee or a water or something next to you, it's really good to just try that, like try to turn your head and feed. You can see why it doesn't work. So tummy to mummy, hand behind the neck and shoulders, chin in first, and then push baby to breast. When we're bringing baby to breast, it's a fast movement because as soon as baby opens that mouth, baby will close it again. So as soon as you see it open, push baby forwards. And like I said, we'll send you the videos for that as well. Are there any questions here?
No, not from me.
Okay, cool. Sometimes the questions come when the baby comes. Okay, this is just to say, look, in the first 6 weeks, there's so much happening. Baby's learning how to feed. Your body's figuring out how much milk should I make. And so where possible, just keeping it really simple those first 6 weeks. If you can just latch baby to the breast, then that will help your body to figure out exactly how much milk to make, not too much, not too little. And it will help baby with learning, how do I feed? With every feed that baby has, baby's learning how to feed. And so just having a breast in the mouth. So where possible, avoiding things like dummies and bottle teats because they have a different suck. It's a small mouth suck, and breastfeeding is a big mouth. So we don't want to change the shape of baby's mouth. So putting it, waiting for 6 weeks before you put other things in baby's mouth. The other thing with using dummies and things, if weight or latching are issues, then we try to avoid dummies because baby can sometimes suck on the dummy and not show us that they're hungry. They tell us with their bodies, but if they're sucking on a dummy, then we miss those cues that they're hungry. And also, yeah, like we say, it can make change baby from having a wide mouth to a smaller mouth, which can lead to painful nipples. If you have any products that maybe you've been given or you've bought, because there's so much out there now, and that's things like pumps, huckers, shields, ladybugs, anything that you can put onto your breast or your nipple, they all have different effects. They all do different things. And so it's a good idea if you do have any of that, anything that you can buy to put on your breast or in baby's mouth, just have a little chat to us first at Rito Ora, because we can help you to use those products in ways that can minimize any effects that they have. Sometimes they can interfere with your milk supply. So sometimes they can mean that you have not enough milk or too much milk, both of which are issues that that we'll need to help you sort out. So just latching baby directly to the breast will be a really good way to start breastfeeding. If you do have any reasons to try any products as well, then just let us know. We totally understand that, like, you can sometimes we have to go back to work, and so we don't have a choice but to use products, or there can be other things, or even just choice, like if you want to feed baby with bottles as well or something like that, then just have a chat to us and we can come up with plans that help you to minimize complications.
Okay.
Problem solving. So for breastfeeding problems, there are usually breastfeeding solutions. This is just little things that you can do to really help keep breastfeeding on track, get off to a good start, keep things on track. So just respond to your baby's needs. We don't feed by the clock, we feed by baby's appetite. So if your baby's showing you that they're hungry, feed them. It doesn't matter what time it is. Getting a deep latch. So just spending that time practicing latching baby on, getting a comfortable latch where baby's, you can hear sucking and swallowing and you know that baby's getting milk. So draining the breast well, that is to say, you know, we want baby to be sucking and swallowing while baby's on the breast. Like we just said, you know, listen out for those swallows and yeah, looking out for, you know, the nappy numbers and things like that as well. Get support early. This is what we're here for, your midwives and, you know, the other support people around. Ask your questions while they're still little questions before they become big issues as well, can just be really helpful for you guys. And ask your midwife to watch full feeds with you. You have midwife visits for 5 or 6 weeks. So ask your midwife to, you know, to watch a feed, and maybe there can be little things that they can help you with there. But those are nice ways just to keep things on track. Nutrition for breastfeeding. So we talked a little bit about cookies and things, but also supplements, teas, powders of any kind. Don't feel like you need to rush out and buy them. They are products at the end of the day, and you don't really need to buy any products to be able to breastfeed. The work with the supply, like we know, is done by the more we feed our babies, the more milk we make. And they can be really expensive. So, you know, don't put yourself out buying expensive things when we know that you'll make good quality and a good amount of breast milk with just a nice normal diet. When we're talking about foods that we should or shouldn't be eating, there's no food that you have to kind of avoid for breastfeeding. There's lots of myths. So there's a lot of misinformation out there about avoiding foods, but you don't need to avoid anything. Okay, so we can still eat. The common ones that I'm asked about are things like spicy food, dairy, chocolate, a coffee. We can still have those things while we breastfeed. We don't need to cut out any food group at all. In fact, cutting out food groups can interfere with the amount of nutrition that you get. So keeping in every food group, and even, you know, when we breastfeed, it's really interesting. Our breast milk will change taste according to what we eat. And in pregnancy with you guys right now, your amniotic fluid, that baby's inside, what the baby's hanging out in, that changes taste according to what you eat. So in pregnancy, baby's getting used to the foods that you eat. by breastfeeding, baby will be getting used to those tastes. And then when you start solid foods with baby around 6 months, you continue on with your family foods, and it's just a great way to help to reduce fussy eating. So if you want a baby and a toddler who eats, you know, say you eat a stir fry for dinner and that's your normal food, then this is how we help to expose baby to those flavors. So keep going. Just don't forget to feed yourself. I think, you know, when we have a baby, there's no time left in the day. So remembering to give yourself 3 meals a day and a couple of snacks is a good idea. Drink lots of water. When we breastfeed, we tend to get very, very thirsty. And so having water bottles dotted around the house is a nice idea to help to encourage you to drink more water. Or just have a water bottle dotted around wherever you think you might feed. If it's in the living room, if it's in your bedroom, water bottles around. And the other thing here, rest while the baby's sleeping. So looking after yourself so that you can look after your baby is very, very important. Just kick your feet up, watch a movie if you can't fully take a whole nap in the day. It's kicking your feet up and resting because your body's doing so much. It's just made a human, birthed it, making breast milk for it, and you're up in the night time. So please do take a rest in the day. Some people are concerned about if their house is clean. Don't be. That's a long and short of it there. Lower your standards. We don't need to have Instagram perfect houses while we have a newborn. While we have a newborn, it is like a full-time job just feeding the baby, no matter how we feed our babies. What some mums do if they absolutely can't stand a mess is they'll just pick like one part of the house, so like just the living room, and just clean that bit and then hang out there. So don't worry about the rest of your house. Yeah. Rest yourself. Okay, so this is safe sleep. Now your midwives would have probably talked to you a little bit about safe sleep, or if you've done antenatal education classes, you would have gone over safe sleep as well. But what it is basically about making sure that every sleep baby has is a safe sleep. So what we want to do is put baby on their back to sleep. Okay, so that they face up, make sure that their sleeping space is clear of like pillows, toys. We don't want cot bumpers either. Those things can be hazardous for baby. They can go on baby's face. So we don't need any of that. Keep it simple. Just like you see in these pictures here, baby has a mattress that is firm and is the right size for this wahakura, for this sidecar cot bassinet. And also the fabric choice for the blankets is something to look at as well. Where possible, it's a good idea to try to get blanket material that is natural. So those things are cotton, bamboo, merino, and wool. The reason is those things are breathable. And so if they go on baby's face, baby can still breathe through them. But the things that we don't want, the things like polyester and fleece, those are a little bit more plasticky, and if they go on baby's face, baby can't breathe. So where possible, trying to source natural fibers for blankets is ideal. Also, just, you know, keeping baby close by to you. So rooming in, what that means is for the first 6 months. Sorry, guys. For the first 6 months, we want baby in the same room as us. We can hear baby, we can see baby. It helps to keep them safe in their sleep. Also really helps with breastfeeding. Breastfeeding is encouraged because there's a few ways that it helps to keep babies safe while they sleep. Things like because baby doesn't get as severely sick, baby doesn't lock up quite so much. And breastfeeding, just baby having to suck, swallow, breathe helps to strengthen airways. Breastfed babies in the first 3 to 4 months do wake a little bit more often than babies who are not breastfed, and that's a good thing. It's very protective that our babies are waking up all the time. It helps to keep them safe while they sleep, rather than go into a deep sleep for a very, very long time. Also, if there is anyone in your house or yourself that is a smoker, then just get in touch with us. We can refer you through to Smoke Free. They are, a very great group of people that can help you with eliminating or reducing smoking. And they do so with an incentivized program. So that means that you get vouchers and things for the longer you can quit smoking for, the more vouchers you get. And that goes for other people in the house as well. So if you know, like, partner or anyone like that in the house, we can refer you there too. So do get to ask your midwife to refer you to. And expressing. We've got a really good video. Sorry guys. We've got a very good video on our Instagram that Eliana has done about how to hand express. It's a really good skill to know. When your milk comes in, then we talked about days 3 or 4, your breasts feel fuller, harder, heavier. Hand expressing is a nice, free, gentle way to express up a little bit of milk. Why we like to do that on day 3 and 4 is when our breasts feel really hard and heavy, they can get a little bit, because the skin's a bit tighter, baby goes to latch on and might slip around a little bit, and that can cause sore nipples. So sometimes if our breasts are really full, a little bit of hand expressing is a good tip to know, so that baby can latch on to a more grippy kind of a breast, and you get a more deep, comfortable latch in this way. Also, if you're not around a pump, or you don't have a pump, or you'd rather not plug it in and use it and clean it, etc., hand expressing is a great tool. A lot of mums that I have actually say they get more milk from hand expressing. So really good to know. There is a technique on how to do it. As you can see on the screen, you put your hand in the shape of the letter C and put your fingers around the areola. Okay, so we're not just kind of honing in on the nipple, it's around the areola. Keep your hands where they are. We're not sliding the hand around the chest. We're kind of like keeping them there. Push straight back to your chest and then roll forward. Push back, roll forward. Get into a bit of a rhythm with that, and it usually takes between 30 and 60 seconds before we get let down. What you'll see if you do in the colostrum phases is like a bit of a glisten, maybe a drop, and as your milk comes in, you might see more and more before you get the big kind of squirts. But this is in the Mama Aroha app. It's also on our Instagram page as well. And we can just send it to you if you'd like us to send you a video. Now this is about milk storage. This slide is slightly out of date. You can see 2014, so the rules have changed. But the point of it is, if you do express your milk, there's a way to store it. Like food safety rules, like with anything, like with cow's milk, with any food item, you can only leave it out for so long. You can only put it in the fridge for so long. To find the information on the Mama Aroha app, or get in touch with us and we can help you with that. And there's a way to defrost it if it has been frozen as well. So these are all things you don't need to know right now, but we can help you with when baby arrives, just so you know where to go for the information. Okay, so this one comes back to what we talked about before with the immune system and breastfeeding. The World Health Organization, as well as New Zealand Ministry of Health, recommends that if you do get COVID, or I mean, even if you get like gastro or anything like that, the advice is to keep breastfeeding, because it helps to keep our baby's immune system strong. It helps them to fight coughs, colds, viruses, etc. So keep breastfeeding or providing breast milk to baby. If you do end up quite sick and you want to still, you want some support with how can you get breast milk to baby when you yourself might not want to get out of bed, just send us a text and we can do a phone call or a text consult with you. We're all mums at our service, so we all understand, and this is all things that we can help you with. But yeah, not a time to give up because of anything like COVID. Keep going.
Okay. But will not the virus, transfer to the kid through the milk?
And so not through the milk, so the antibodies that will protect baby are transferred through. If you are worried, you can wear a mask while you breastfeed. That's what some people do, but don't feel like you need to. Baby doesn't have much of their own immune system, to make their own antibodies to fight coughs and colds. So they'll get immunity through your breast milk.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's lots of ways that our bodies recognize. I'll stop sharing here. There's lots of ways that our bodies can recognize, like, hey, is my baby sick? And it's quite amazing. So like, this is baby's mouth, when baby latches onto the breast, the Montgomery glands that we talked about before, the bumps on the areola, they have a smell that baby likes, but they also have a job where they will read baby's saliva. Baby's saliva goes on the Montgomery glands, and our Montgomery glands will read to see if baby has a cough, cold, virus themselves. If baby does, our bodies will make the antibody for baby. So even if we don't have the cold, our bodies will know if baby does and will make the antibody to give that to your baby. It's about 20 minutes or half an hour after your Montgomery glands have picked it up that you'll have the antibody in your breast milk ready for baby. Also, we all get urges to just cover our babies in kisses and just kiss them. That's our body reading our baby to see if baby has a virus or something like that, so that we can make antibodies for baby. So there's a big part of breastfeeding that is just keeping our babies healthy and strong.
Wow. That's
Pretty
amazing.
amazing. Breast milk, it is alive and it's constantly changing. So it will be different from day to night. There's different hormones in it. It will be different as your baby gets older. So it's just always exactly right for your baby. Yeah. So that last slide here. What I'll do is, because you're both on our books, I'll send you links to, if you're on Instagram, come and join us there. Our Facebook has been running for a long time, and you'll see, you can use a search to search for many, many different things on it. If you want to get in touch with us, you've got the numbers of myself and Shivani, who have texted you today, or we've got an 0800 number. We have an email address. There's lots of different ways that you can get in touch with us. And we also do like little events and things like that as well. For example, tomorrow we'll be at Westfield Manukau for a couple of hours in the morning. They've got free entertainment like balloons, Duplo, which is like preschool Lego, and free fruit for kids and things, and we'll be there ready to answer any questions that anybody has. So there's lots of cool little events that we post up to our Instagram and our Facebook. So if you wanted to follow for that reason as well, please do. But does anyone have any other questions, or is there anything else that you wanted to cover today?
No, not at this stage.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Like you said, when the baby comes, we might have more questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we'll do is when you have your babies, it'll come up on our system that you've had your baby, and we'll come and visit you both at home once your babies have arrived to support you with feeding.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much.
Well, thanks for your time. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you. It was
Thank
lovely.
you.
Lots of information.
Yeah, and I'll send
Thank you so much.
Texts in a row from me after this. So yeah. Cool. Okay, thanks guys. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
You too. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.